is the Pegasus Podcast, presented by Night Sports Now. UCF news, views, and a few hot takes. Now, here are your hosts, Bailey Go Knights Adams and Christian Charge On Simmons.
Welcome into episode 154. Be sure you're following us on Twitter at BaileyJAdams22, at @ByCASimmons, and at Night Sports Now. Christian, as we're speaking, we're 10 days away from kickoff, so almost a week. We have week 0 on Saturday. How does this make you feel?
So here's the issue that I run into and this happens every year, and I know we talk about it every year, but it's like, I even said a few weeks ago, like, man, we're so close, it's so exciting. For the last, 4 or 5 days to me, I'm just in agony now. Like, it's agonizing. Like, time has, do you feel like this? Like, I feel like time has slowed the hell down this past week, and it's taking a billion years to get here now, and I'm about to lose my mind over it.
Yes and no. I've been getting more and more antsy. And to explain, like, on Saturday I had to go out and I just decided to wear my UCF jersey just because I felt like it. It was just like 2 weeks until, actually it was less than 2 weeks until UCF kickoff, but it was like 2 weeks until we had a full college football Saturday. Now we're on the podcast. I'm wearing Space U jersey 2018. For anyone watching the YouTube
for those
video,
of you who watch the video version, I put on a UCF shirt for the podcast, and you can't even sort of tell it's a UCF shirt from the angle I'm sitting at. So I'm really just crushing it.
We talked about this before we got on the podcast. It was before we started recording, that I wore a blue Space U shirt last week, and you just couldn't tell. It was just a light blue shirt. So,
didn't know that's what it was until you told me right before we got on. So
I don't often put a lot of thought. I don't often put a lot of thought into it. Like one week I just wore a Rays shirt. So it was like, because most of the time you just see like the shoulders, but this one's very noticeable for those of you. You can tell if you're watching YouTube because you can see that just the collar has the constellations. So
now we're getting super inside baseball on how we dress for the Pegasus podcast for the very small segment of our audience that even watches the video versions. But so the first couple, I just wore my Night Sports Now polo because I'd just gone to media access the day we recorded, and I just never.
The first one you wore a suit.
That's a lie. I did wear a suit for the first one. I forgot about that already. And yeah, I did do that. And I've also bought a new suit since then. Lots going on with my fashion life. But so I would wear the Night Sports Now polo, and like the second or third one, I just wore the shirt I was wearing that day, which was just like a white shirt with blue stripes. And then when I watched back the video, I was like, I hate this. So now I feel like I'm committed to wearing UCF gear. Even though we talked before, I don't own a lot of UCF gear, which I feel like is bad. So I'm going to run out of this really quickly.
Far too much.
You own a lot. You own probably too much, but yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. But hey, we've got a 5-star review question to get to before we talk about our main topic, which is basically a UCF roster preview. This is how we've done it the last couple of years of ranking each position group based on how confident we are in them. We've got 8 position groups to get through, like that Night Sports Now mug that you just sipped from.
I've been doing that every week.
5-star review question, and then here I am with my Buc-ee's cup. We've talked about Buc-ee's in this podcast before,
and that you're obsessed with Buc-ee's, and I don't understand. We're not doing this again because I pissed off a bunch of our listeners. Whatever, it's fine. Buc-ee's is great. I've never doubted.
Shout out Wild Bill.
Awesome.
He knew. But our 5-star review question, we're kind of like not listening to it. It says rank each team in the Big 12 by how much you'd like to attend a game / visit their city. We're just going to do a top 3 because 1, that would take too long, and 2, we actually did a podcast like that when Christian wrote about this last summer and made everyone on college football Reddit very upset.
We did that.
I can't believe I was like doing research for this today, and I found the Reddit thread where someone had posted that article, and I was like, I forgot and can't believe that made it to Reddit, and people were not happy with you.
Most read Night Sports Now story to this day is that freaking because it got picked up on Reddit, and it wasn't like a happy like, oh, look at this UCF fan with his list. It was every Big 12 fan base coming together to be like, so UCF fans suck, and this specific guy, we should beat him up if we ever find him. Like, they were mad about the list. I think it was a good list, and I stand by it entirely, even though I don't even fully remember where I ranked everybody because it was like a year ago at this point. I need to redo it because there's 4 new teams, so yeah, I got to update it. But yeah, I also like how you say we have our 5-star review question. We are not listening to it because it would take too long, but we're doing a modified version. So yeah, keep sending in those questions, guys. We're just going to alter them to our liking when you do, but we appreciate the questions anyway.
We typically don't. I think it's just this one would be an entire podcast.
It would be a whole podcast,
so
yeah.
We're doing top 3, and we're including the future members, that ones that aren't here this year. I think it might be important to actually, I don't know. Maybe we should just go for our list and explain as we go. But I feel like you and I will approach this from different avenues.
You said it best because you said your list is your list for today. Because I'm kind of like, I did mine. I was kind of surprised with the 3 I came up with, and I don't know if I'll feel this way tomorrow. So
yeah. Do you want to start at 3 or 1?
3.
3,
right? Yeah, 3.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that. What's your number 3? Right as you took a sip of whatever you're drinking. What is it? Is it coffee or tea today?
Tea. It's tea. That's
Okay.
why I'm calm. Sorry. If you're listening to the audio version, I was literally mid-sip when Bailey was like, hit us with your tea. Anyway, sorry. My number 3 was Texas Tech.
Okay. Explain.
So I'm about to. So you and I, we toyed around with the idea of going to Texas Tech for our game this year before we settled on Cincinnati, and not super seriously because I was skeptical of the idea of going to Lubbock. I've been near Lubbock before and it's not great. That I don't know if I should. I really have. Well, yeah, I have. I've been to Amarillo, which is in the same region of the world, so I feel like that counts. And it was also just flights were crazy expensive, and I also have this whole thing where I hate doing connecting flights, and I try to avoid them at all costs in my life. But I've kind of been regretting that the farther we've gotten away from that decision, because the more I've as I've been over the summer, watching YouTube videos and stuff of other Big 12 teams and their fan bases and stuff, Texas Tech stadium atmosphere seems freaking awesome, and maybe the best, or maybe not the best in the Big 12, but the craziest in the Big 12.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of Big 12 teams I'm probably never going to go visit because they're in dumb little towns that I don't want to visit. That sounded so bad. They're in small towns that are not big cities.
Dumb little towns.
That was so bad.
Welcome to the Pegasus Podcast, where Christian Simmons doesn't care about your dumb little towns.
I really take that back. I understand that small town. And I will say, oh man, I'm panicking now.
Dumb little towns where you losers live.
I will say that I've eaten my words on this before, because we talked about, in February I went to Athens, Georgia, where UGA is, and which also in my mind was dumb little town, and it was one of my favorite places I've ever been. So I'm sure that some of these dumb little towns are awesome, and I take that back. I'm sorry for phrasing it that way, but I like cities, so I'm probably never gonna go. Bailey's still laughing, to a lot of these, but if I have to pick one, I think it will be Texas Tech, and it also seems like that town, they have a lot of pride in it, and they also have Prairie Dog Valley, or Prairie Dog Town, which is, as far as I understand, some benches facing a field with prairie dogs, and that sounds cool. So
I do like that.
I had to pick a dumb little town to go to.
Yeah,
it'd be lovely.
My number 3 is Baylor, which surprised me.
I don't want to go to Baylor. I thought about them too, and I don't want to go.
It surprised me. I would not, if I were just done this off the top of my head, I would not have thought. And I'm putting way too much weight into the opinion of somebody who wrote this article for the Oklahoman. Is that how you say that? Oklahoman?
Oklahoman.
Yeah.
Is it Barry Trammell?
I think it is. Yeah, I think it was. And he it's a really good read, actually. And his description of Waco sold me. So I put it number 3 on my list.
They have that place that the people who watch TV like.
Fixer Upper, yeah.
What am I talking about? Do you know?
Chip and Joanna Gaines?
That thing. Yeah. They have
what's it called? It's the thing. Yep, it is. Magnolia Market.
Elite podcasting. That was right there. The thing from the television that the people.
Well, honestly, so he talks about this in this article. I'm down just plugging his article and just recapping it for everyone. He talks about pretty much each place, and he says the stadium experience is excellent, and the stadium south end opens to the Brazos River for a beautiful and unique setting. And I looked up pictures of this, and the stadium's on the water. I didn't know that, and I love water. Kinda there's water. You can't really see it from inside the stadium. When you walk up, it's a nice looking stadium.
Okay, but UCF Stadium will be on the water too once they build the lazy river. So is that really is that a brag?
It does. It would. Yeah, I would want to visit UCF and Cove Gate. Is that what they were calling
Cove Gating? That was what it was under Danny White. I don't know if they're going to rename that with whatever Terry. It's called. What is it called now? McNamara Recovery Cove, I think is the name.
Something like that. But yeah, I don't know. There goes one of my hats just fell. I told you that was going to happen. But yeah, so Baylor, the atmosphere seems cool, and 2 of them have fallen. This is a bad omen. This is a bad.
This is why more of you need to watch the video version, because Bailey's entire set is just falling down in the back.
This is not good. This is a bad omen. UCF might win 4 games.
My favorite part was the first one goes, you're like, there goes hat, and the second one goes, and you go, oh, 2 of it's like Kevin Harlan calling a game. You're the second half.
It's my brain. Bang. So 2 of them are gone now. Should I fix it?
No, let's just keep going.
While you're talking, I might just turn around and fix it. Anyone watching the YouTube can watch me fix it. But yeah, Baylor. I don't know. The stadium atmosphere seems cool. There's enough to do around there, I think, where I'd have a fun time.
We're 5 minutes in, and I've insulted every Big 12 fan base, and the set's falling apart. We're crushing
the set.
The set, the wall behind Bailey where the things are. I think I call mine a set. Mine was very difficult to set up, and I also have to. Now we're just so inside baseball. I also have to disassemble it after the end of every podcast because I use this space for something else. But anyway, Okay, so that was your number 3, Baylor. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't disagree because also like Baylor's good a lot of the time, so that will probably in the years to come be a good game most of the time. I just like
Yeah.
it's not something I've ever had like a burning desire to go to.
I didn't either until today.
That's fair. That's valid.
Might not tomorrow, like I said.
Tomorrow it'll be like, nah. Did you? Or let me jump ahead really quickly. Is TCU anywhere on your list?
No.
It's not on mine either. So that's
Okay.
interesting. We don't like TCU. I don't know. We're just not a big fan. My number 2 is
Okay.
BYU.
Oh, wait a minute. I don't have BYU on my list anymore.
Really? You have for like the last 2 years. That's interesting.
Yeah. Surprisingly, I do not. Spoiler alert for, I guess, for later on. There are other future members who have mountains in the background of their stadium. So I was like, I could have done a list of all 3 of the ones that have mountains in the background, but that would have been kind of boring. So I just chose a different one. Now I'm trying to remember why, but
couldn't tell you.
Sure. Go ahead on BYU.
Yeah,
it's an amazing view.
It's the same thing I said in my article that was very well received, is that BYU kind of checks all the boxes for me because it's in Provo, which is like basically like a suburb of Salt Lake City, if I understand it right. Hopefully I'm not offending anybody with that. Like, so you really can basically have the experience of being in a big city and then also seeing a great game atmosphere at the same time. Okay, for our audio listeners, while I'm talking, Bailey tried to put his hats back up and he literally placed it back up and it immediately fell down. So we're crushing it. And the stadium view is just insane. Like, if you guys haven't seen it, go look up photos. Like, this stadium is literally nestled in the foothills of a snow-capped mountain. Like, it is the most insane stadium. And it's a huge stadium. It's like a 60,000 seat stadium. And I don't know why that one doesn't get talked about more as like one of the coolest venues in college football. And they pack it most games. So I definitely want to go to BYU at some point for sure. Maybe next year. Well, we don't know if we'll be playing there next year, but maybe next year.
So yeah, we don't. I had it on my list, but it has been bumped down. But again, tomorrow it might be on my list. So
who knows?
My number 2 is actually another one that sort of surprised me. I don't know. I actually almost went to this one this year, and that's Kansas State. And it's in Manhattan, Kansas.
Not after their fans treated me in that Reddit thread. No way.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But their fans are so nice on Twitter.
Their fans are super nice on Twitter. They were not nice on Reddit because I said that the Little Apple Brewing Company was in downtown Manhattan when they said it's actually just outside of downtown Manhattan. So they were very upset about that. But
very harsh.
Yeah.
I don't know. From what I've read and from what I've gathered, I know one of my not one of my bosses. He is one of my bosses. My boss at Pewter Report. He graduated from Kansas State and everything. I mean, obviously it's his alma mater, so he's always going to say like good things about the area. But it just seems like a cool like college town. Like, it seems cool, like cool atmosphere. They have this called Aggieville, which is like basically like a district of like bars and restaurants that's supposed to be fun. I think
an insect zoo. I think.
Do they?
I think that was the one of the insect zoo.
The atmosphere on game day is great. It seems, I mean, I've read and heard that like their fans, as nice as they are on Twitter, apparently their fans are also very nice in person. Like it is just like a good place to visit. And like,
I'm curious if you agree, and I'm curious if our listeners agree. Like, as far as all the Big 12 fan bases I've interacted with on social media since the move, which I think is pretty much all of them now, except Houston, since they don't exist, is I think Kansas State has been my favorite, like across the board. Like, I don't know if I've had a bad interaction with a Kansas State fan.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't even want to trash Kansas State because like I've seen UCF fans be like say something negative about Kansas State, like, oh, you got beat up on by Bama, and they just come in, they're like, yeah, we went, it was nice for us to get to the game. We would have liked to do better, but good luck with your bowl. And it's like, oh man, this is I don't want to be mean to these people. They seem so nice.
Like also the stadium is like how it was described. Maybe it was the same article, but
it's pretty big, right? It's like 50-something thousand. Yeah,
it's a pretty big stadium, and it's like they said it's basically just on a big plot of like a parking lot where like on the outside, like they've just turned the outside into like a huge tailgating scene, which I know you're not a huge tailgater. I'm not really either, but it just seems like a fun like atmosphere, even just to walk through. Like that's what I do at UCF basically, is I kind of just walk through Memory Mall, and there are parts of it where I'm like, all right, there's too many people around me. I need to like squeeze through here, but also part of it, I'm like, this is kind of I like the atmosphere here. It's nice.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. They're not on my list because I don't know. That's it. That's like the flight issues of getting there are very difficult. So
yeah.
Again, huge factor. That was another thing people disagree with me on my list was like how to get there was a huge part of my equation. I guess some people are just fine with ridiculous travel. I'm not one of those people, but more power to you guys. Like, great for you.
Yeah.
But
yeah. All right. Your number 1.
My number 1 is a new Big 12 team, and it is a new Big 12 team, and it is Colorado.
That's my number 1.
I've heard from many folks, both online and in real life, that Boulder is like one of the coolest cities in America and a very fun place to visit. Yeah. And the stadium seems nice. The atmosphere hasn't historically been awesome, but I'm assuming that's going to change since they just sold out a spring game and they really like Dion. And If they get they see, the thing is, Colorado was very good like 30 years ago and had a strong fan base then. So I'm assuming if they get back on track, it'll be good again. So that might be one that I'm like buying some future stock in. Like, this is a trip I'll maybe hope to make in a few years if I'm like confident it'll be a big game and a fun game. But Boulder is apparently awesome. So when I redo that list for Night Sports Now, they're probably gonna be number one.
I said that I couldn't remember why I ended up bumping BYU for Colorado, and that's why. It's because Boulder is supposed to be. I saw it as like one of the best cities to live in too. Like, not just visit,
people
like one of the best cities
Boulder
to live in America. And yeah, I mean, it seems like that, and then they have a pretty nice like scenic view as well, with like mountains in the background and stuff. And yeah, I know like the atmosphere hasn't probably been the best, but I don't know. I just feel like it's gonna get better, and
it can't get worse. So it kind of has to get better, right?
I was reading something too that said like it was I don't know if it was a big deal or whatever. People like were sad to lose that road trip when Colorado left the Big 12 initially. So it's like now it's back.
That doesn't surprise me. I mean, look at the other options.
Yeah.
I'm just continuing to double down on the Big 12 destinations not being
dumb little towns.
A lot of that. Stop saying that. I didn't. That was out of hand. I can't even cut that because we referenced it like 6 times now.
No, I apologize. I don't want you to cut it. I think it was.
I don't feel that way. I don't feel like they're dumb little towns. I just feel like they're not for me, and they can be for other people. They're just specifically not for me, and I think that's fine. We can all have opinions, right?
Right.
I'm trying to save it.
Good job. Yeah. You've done it. You've dug out of your hole. Maybe.
What towns was I referring to when I said dumb little towns?
Let's not name them, and then it's up to anyone.
One came to mind. One came to mind when I said it, but it's not one we brought up, so it's fine.
Leave your guesses in the comments and on Twitter. Just which one came to mind for Christian when he was.
It rhymes with Hillwater.
No.
Anyway.
Yeah. Let's get into our UCF roster preview and rank these positions, these dumb little positions on the football field. Based on our confidence level, and then we will start at 8. And first of all, like, just going through this.
Wait, I have 9.
Why do you have 9?
I don't know. Why do you have 8?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Did you separate wide receiver and tight end?
No. Do you have special teams?
Yes. Did you separate any other ones?
No.
4, 5, 6, 7. I have 8. What do we have? Okay, we got quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers / tight ends, offensive line, defensive line, linebackers, defensive backs, special teams.
Offensive line in there anywhere for you?
I just said the offensive line.
I'm counting 9. So what do I have that you don't say? Okay, I have quarterback, offensive line, running back, wide receiver, and tight end, defensive line. Wait, say yours again?
I didn't say them in my order. I just said them in the order that I sent them.
I'm not saying in my order. I'm not saying in my order either.
Quarterbacks.
Wow,
this is good.
Okay.
Quarterbacks, running backs.
Yeah.
Wide receivers / tight ends. That's 3.
Okay.
Offensive line 4.
Okay.
Defensive line 5. Linebackers 6. Defensive backs 7. Special teams 8. Do you have one listed twice? I can't believe this. This has been a banner podcast for us. While you're counting, I'm gonna try to fix my set.
You know what's insane is that I have 9. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I figured out the problem. And it is my fault. I'm gonna read you my list. I'm not gonna say what the positions are. My list is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm sorry. That's my bad.
All right.
That was the most confusing thing that's ever happened to me because I'm tracking mine as you speak, and so you say one, and I mark it on mine. Like I have them all. And I'm like, okay, well that's all 9. So I don't understand. Wow, I
have to stand up to put this other one back, so I'm not going to.
Is this our worst podcast ever?
Can we start over?
It's just the hats have fallen. I've insulted all the Big 12 fan bases. We just had the stupidest miscommunication ever before we could even start our main. This is rough. This is great.
Big breath. All right, let's get into the top 8. What I was going to say is we have these 8 position groups, and as I was doing this, I got way too high on UCF's potential for this year. I'm still sticking to my hope of just get to a bowl, 6 or 7 wins, be the best of the new teams. But I'm talking myself into them being way more talented than I initially thought. And I thought they were pretty talented already.
Here's my official vote that I'm in on this because I also the last few weeks I've been getting toxically optimistic, not out here they're going to win the conference or anything. I've seen some UCF fans doing that, and I still think you guys are crazy. And UCF can be in the conference title game, and I'm still going to think you're crazy. But it's been more. I'm trying to figure out how to say this. This feels like a very talented team, and there are questions. John Rice Plumlee and how much better he is a question. Whether he can stay healthy is a question. The secondary is a question. The depth at linebacker, there are questions. But there's a lot of upside. And the thing about their schedule, and this is why I'm like, they can still go 6-6 and 5-7 or 5-7, is I feel like there are like literally 9 or 10 games even on this schedule that are close to being toss-ups. So I can see a path to them being very good if a lot of those toss-ups go their way. But at the same time, I can see that not going their way. If I could see there are going to be a lot of close games this year. I think UCF's going to play 4 or 5 single score, close to single score games. That would not surprise me. And it's just kind of like, how are those going to break? So I see the path, but I think they have the talent. Like, they're going to be the best of the new 4. I really feel like, especially with their schedule. But I also can still see them being on the wrong end of a bunch of games, and that's that.
The thing too is like Oklahoma of all programs last year, like they had a bunch of toss-ups that could have gone one way or the other, and they all went the wrong way for them. That's why they finished 6-7.
And conversely, TCU had a ton of they tried out that stat in the pressers. Both Hinshaw and Gus have said it, that they've been practicing tight game situations because it was every Big 12 team last year averaged 4 single score games, which is a lot, like for an average.
It's a crazy conference.
So it's going to be a slog. And the other thing is, like, we can like where the team is at now. I don't love the team's depth at a few different positions. So when injuries pile up and we're 4 or 5 weeks into the season, I might be feeling a little different than I do right now. But right now, on paper, this team might be very good, and that's scaring me. So anyway, we can go position by position and talk about it.
We will start at number 8, the group that we're least confident in. Okay. I'm thinking we're going to differ on this based on past conversations.
Okay.
Should I go first?
Go for it.
Linebacker.
Okay, I did not have linebacker, but should I say where I have linebacker?
Yeah.
I have linebacker at 7th, so we're not we're not way off there.
I think we'll probably just have flipped 7th and 8th, but
probably, yeah.
Do we want to risk it and just what is your 8 and what's my
DBs.
7? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So we can talk about both.
Yep.
And it goes hand in hand why I rank linebacker 8 is because, like, I think I feel better about linebacker than I did previously, but I'm still banking on a lot of like questions. Like, it's Jason Johnson obviously is he's on all the watch lists. So I mean, if that's what you want to look at, but no, I think Jason Johnson's really, really good. He's a team captain. He's a great starter to have. And then I assume the other starter will be Ryan Davis, the Georgia transfer.
That's probably likely.
But I have never seen him play. So it's like, I think he's going to be good. I think he's going to be good enough. And then behind him is Isaiah Paul, Walter Yates, and then a bunch of the young guys.
After that, not much.
Cam Moore in his second year, which I don't know how much like you're confident in him or not. Troy Ford and Andrew Harris both probably not going to be factors this year. So
I don't think we're going to hear anything from either of them this year. Yeah.
I'm not being 100% sure about Ryan Davis, and then the depth is why I still have them low, because when we get to DBs, which we can talk about, I just think they have more guys that I'm like, I think there's a better chance of there being like a good hit rate with these guys than the guys they have in linebacker, which kind of isn't really fair based on like just the position itself. But that's
but you sort of took the words out of my mouth on that, because it's that, like, I feel theoretically good about linebacker, but we just don't know. We don't know what Ryan Davis is going to be. We don't know what I don't even know if Isaiah Paul, like, he's just a name they added. I don't know. We'll see. And I feel really good about Jason Johnson. I feel solid about Walter Yates, and the depth is concerning. I feel like they're an injury or two away from that position being a huge problem. And it's also just a lot of speculation. We speculate that Ryan Davis is going to step up. So I feel theoretically good about it. We'll see. And I also, like you said, I feel like my big thing is they have limited options there if it's not working. DBs I had at the bottom because I'm sure by now the coaching staff knows or is close to knowing, but we just don't know what they're actually going to be trotting out, who's going to be where. And the negative way to look at it is they brought in a ton, which meant that they were clearly concerned about it. And you never know what your hit rate is through the portal. And we'll see. Yeah. I mean, they have DeCorian Patterson is a star. I think that he'll for sure start. And then you've got, I don't know, Corey Thornton, Brandon Adams, Nakai Martinez. You've got Jairo Wilson at safety. They've got guys. And I think it's just figuring out where everyone goes. And I guess that's why maybe you had the right order, because it's true that I'm worried about them too, but it may just be more of plugging everyone in the right place. Like, they have options. If some guys aren't working, they have plenty of choices. So.
Yeah, I mean, even guys like we haven't heard about, I think there's probably a reason we haven't heard about them, but like, what's his name? Jamark Morris and Fred Davis are two that they really, we don't know. But
I gotta say though, let me just say really quickly is that they are still there, like what you just said. And I do think we're getting a little to the fan base and us. I feel like we've been more guilty of it than usual of like press conferences are press conferences. And it like that, we're not necessarily getting the full picture. There are guys that we didn't hear a word about last year who then showed up and were a big deal during the season. So we'll see, who's actually out there.
they still have Quadric Bullard back there. They have Braden Marshall, who apparently is somebody they're talking about making an impact early this year. So I just feel like there's more there, but it's still one of those positions that I'm not 100% certain on. I'm like, I don't really know what to expect because there's no way to know what to expect when you don't know who's going to be out there. So
it's also a position that scares me from like, I don't want it to be that UCF has to lose a game to figure out who's supposed to be out there. And I feel like that's not off the table just because they have so many moving parts.
Yeah. All right. Should we move on to number 6 then?
Let's do it.
You go ahead with number 6.
Quarterback.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
I did not have quarterback at 6. I had special teams at 6.
Okay. I had special teams at 5th. So
I had quarterback at 5th. So we're just,
okay. We're just kind of like leapfrogging.
Yeah, we'll line up eventually.
Okay.
What do you want to talk about first? Because I know quarterback's probably going to be the long conversation.
Let's get special teams out of the way because I feel like that's a pretty brief one. I put special teams in the middle of the list because I'm just kind of like there's no cause for concern. I also don't think they're going to be elite. Like I think it should be fine. You know, that's kind of the bottom end of special teams.
It is. It's just like I think they have 2 good kickers. I think Boomer's good. I think Grant Reddick is supposed to be good. Mitch McCarthy is I think a solid punter
for sure. I don't think we know about kick and punt returner yet. I don't know if we've heard anything.
All I really jotted down for that was like I feel like Xavier Townsend was in that role a little bit last year, and he'd be a good guy to have it again. But I think they're going to have enough speed and enough talent at the skill positions.
I think so.
They'll figure that out.
All I'm really looking for from special teams is don't lose a game for them, and I don't think this group will. I'm curious to see if Boomer or Reddick gets the kicking job, even if it is up for grabs. We still haven't really gotten a clear answer on that, but I'm curious about that. But
the big thing that people aren't talking about is Alex Ward is gone for the first time.
But they got Gage King, so they're fine.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So Gage King is the new long snapper, but it's weird to go into a season without Alex Ward as the long snapper. That's just a strange reality.
Is Alex Ward the most popular long snapper of all time, do you think?
Of all time?
Yeah, because how many schools
UCF
like but I'm saying that like I mean relative to their fan base, like I feel like the average UCF fan knew who Alex Ward was, and I feel like it's very unusual for the average fan of any team to know the name of their long snapper. And I feel like everybody knew Alex Ward.
Maybe. I feel like UCF just like promoted him a lot.
Well, he was good. He was a really good player for what he did. He was also here for a long time. I mean, you know, so but it's true. I guess UCF did promote him a lot. I don't know.
Yeah. All right, quarterback, which I had at 5th. You had at 6th.
Quarterback. Yes.
What, I don't even know how do we start this conversation. John West Plumlee.
How do I say this without pissing anybody off? I like this is. Let me think about this. Wow, I just like stuttered.
This is going well.
This is going great. I assume we'll start there. I assume that John Rice Plumlee is going to be improved from last year. I assume he's probably going to be significantly improved from last year, but we just don't know. We just don't know. And I've been getting this like recurring nightmare almost like starting basically a week ago where I'm like, I'm not saying this is what I believe because it's not, but I'm like, what if the season starts and he's just not better? Like, what if he's still making dumb mistakes? What if he's still turning the ball over? What if he still isn't accurate? What if he still isn't consistent? And it's just like, oh, well, then everything else we're going to talk about doesn't matter if that's the case. And I don't think that's what's going to happen, but the fear of it is enough to freak me out.
I still feel like if all of that happened and all that was true, I still feel like his floor is high enough to where like they'd still be okay. Like they wouldn't
I don't know
be a bad
because
team.
How he was last year, it was like he would have games where he was just like, guess what? UCF is not going to win tonight. Like I always go back to the East Carolina game where he turned the ball over on 4 straight drives. Like it's just, you can't do anything if your quarterback's playing that badly. And he had a couple games like that. And it's not even like he needs to take some giant leap. It's like there are really 3 things that Hinshaw needed to fix this offseason to make everything okay. And it's help him make better decisions, get his decision-making locked down, enough of the stupid and errant throws, get rid of those. More consistency, don't go super high and super low, just try to stay in the middle, and try to take less contact. Those are 3 pretty simple things, and I don't feel like any of those are huge asks. It's not like, dang, we need him to be able to throw the ball 20 yards farther down the field than he already can, or wow, we need him to like bulk up like crazy, or we need to redesign his throwing motion. It's like literally just 3 basic things. Better decision-making, more consistency, take less hits. That is it, right? Like that's the recipe, and that should have been doable in an offseason.
Yeah, and I don't know if I'd say I'm more confident or I'm just less worried than you, because I feel like he will be improved. I feel like Hinshaw, and I think I said this to you the other day when we were talking about John Rice Plumlee. It was like jury's obviously still out on Hinshaw as a play caller because we haven't seen him call plays yet. But I believe in his ability to work with quarterbacks just based on what we're hearing and what he's done in the past stops. And so I think there will be enough improvement to where I won't be super worried. I think John Rice Plumlee will be either Why do I keep saying his full name? That's weird. I usually call him JRP.
JR.
Gus just called him JR.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's a weird thing where I think he'll be either improved or just average enough to be like good enough to get the ball to his good receivers and good running backs. And I think the O-line is going to be good. We'll talk about that. But it just feels like the floor is okay.
Yeah.
Enough.
And that's the point I want to make.
He won't even be at the same floor. I think the floor will be a little higher, which is good.
And that's the point I want to make is like, I'm not saying that I'm projecting him to not get better. I expect him to be better. Everything we've heard is that he is better. I know that some UCF fans have gassed themselves that he's going to be a superstar. I don't really buy that, but like, I don't think that we're going to have the thing we did last year where I'm tearing my hair out during games and like, how is this guy out here? I don't expect that at all. He should be a lot better. It's the fear of not knowing until we see him that, oh man, what if he just isn't? Which, like I said, is a long shot, but it's possible. And the other reason I have quarterback so low is because I'm not confident with anything they have behind him. There's no Mikey Keene this year where if he gets hurt, you can be okay. I'm not saying like we've heard some positive stuff about Timmy. We've heard a lot of positive stuff about Dylan Risk, but at the end of the day, Dylan Risk is a true freshman. You're not gonna be able to rely on him this season, even if he is the future or whatever. And Timmy McClain, we don't know. It's weird. He looked really good as a true freshman at USF, but he's just kind of. We've heard a lot of inconsistent stuff on him over the last 6 months.
It's funny where we are now because, like, early on in the spring, was Tommy still here in the spring? When did Tommy transfer?
Tommy transferred
Tommy
after
in the spring. And so in the spring, we weren't hearing anything about Timmy. And I was like, this isn't good. And now we've heard a little bit about Timmy. I'm like, all right, maybe he's going to be okay. Like,
but have we heard about Timmy because he's gotten better? Or have we heard about Timmy because Tommy's gone and they got to talk about someone? I mean,
yeah, I don't know.
You know?
I feel like I do. I'm not the most confident about anything they have or anyone they have behind JRP. I don't know. And I think that's why I have QB where I have them is just fifth, like right in the middle, because it's like, I think as we'll get on to, some of these other position groups are just like that much better. And then it just feels like they have a solid, average to solid starter with a potential to get his potential to get even higher. And then behind him, it's like, I think Timmy would be okay if he had to step in, but I also am not really sure. And so it's just where the quarterbacks are just feels right, like right in the middle.
Yeah.
Right in the mid.
Wouldn't it be cool if John Rice Plumlee was just awesome? Like, what if Henshaw just totally fixed them and he came out and was like insane? Like, just video.
I've gaslit myself into thinking that sometimes. I'll just be sitting there in the middle of the workday or just like be hanging out and just be like, what if JRP's like really good? Like, what if he's just so good this year?
Listen, the argument to make for that happening, which I am not saying that's going to happen, but the argument for it to happen is one you've pointed out before, is that his best games came against teams that had really bad defenses, and basically everyone they're playing had a bad defense last year. And again, that was last year. Teams change, teams evolve, but like if you wanted to make the case, that would be how you'd make that case.
Yeah. Wow. We'll see.
It'd be cool if he was great.
It would be awesome. It'd be really fun.
I really want it to happen. I'm just not
even last year in who did they play first? Was it SC State?
SC State, yeah.
Yeah. In the first game, like there were just things that he was doing where I was like, he's so much fun to watch. He's awesome. But it was SC State. And then we go out the next week against Louisville, and I'm like, this guy needs to
again, even then there were warning signs even against SC State.
Oh,
he overthrew I think he missed what should have been a touchdown. He overthrew one that I think Gamble hauled in. He had that really bad fumble where he got it stripped out of his hand by an FCS. So it's like even against the hat fell again behind Bailey, even against SC State, just like the ball out of JRP's hand. Like there were warning signs, and I kind of want to like level people. Like if he comes out and throws or puts up like 6 or 7 touchdowns against Kent State, which like I just like to remind us all, it's Kent State. Like let's not. I'm really trying not to do the thing where we define the whole season game by game like we all did last year, because that gets annoying, you know. All
you have to do is look at how long he played against SC State to realize there were some warning signs, because Gus didn't take out the starters until later on because he was not very happy.
He was pissed about how the starters played in that game. And then guess what? They went and lost to Louisville. Okay, so really quick tangent. I was texting you about this. I decided, because I hate myself, to rewatch the Louisville game this past week, just because, like, you know, that's the thing you do when you're bored is rewatch an agonizing loss. There were a lot of things I didn't remember about that game. And the first one was I didn't remember UCF looking awesome for the first year. Like UCF just burst out to a 14-0 lead, and JRP looked amazing.
14-7, I think, right? 14-7.
I think
Louisville went up 7-0.
Louisville scored first. You're 100% right.
Yeah. That's good.
I just want to read my text to you, because I was texting you and you weren't replying to my text. I guess you were busy with like life while I'm,
possibly. When was this?
Friday.
Yeah.
So I texted you, I'm rewatching the Louisville game for the first time. Do you recall that on our first 2 drives, the offense looked unstoppable? JRP was a superstar and we scored 2 touchdowns. Then I just kept texting you, even though you weren't replying. Johnny Richardson, 57-yard touchdown brought back on holding. No recollection of that. And then there is 5 minutes go by, and then I text you, okay, Plumlee's thrown 3 straight garbage passes. Now we're back. Okay, Obarski just missed a 32-yarder. We're so back. And it was just like, I guess I never rewatched that game. I don't think ever happened. It was like, I forgot that UCF looked awesome and basically had one bad drive they unraveled on, and then the offense was just done for the rest of the day. And they lost the touchdown from Johnny on holding on Tylen Grable. They lost a touchdown to Javon later in the game. So it's like, they should have won that game. And maybe, I don't know, I was very frustrated. And that's kind of what I'm talking about, because like that game is a game that they lost basically over 2 bad holding calls. And I remember we got on our late night pod after that game and we were like, so UCF's going 6-6. Like, it was just like, and I'm trying to this year do a better job of like, which it's hard on the late night pods. It's like you have the adrenaline, you just watch the game and sometimes you overreact one way or the other. But I'm trying to keep us more, just like JRP, more consistent, more in the middle of, than hopping up and down.
Yeah. That's the difference between you and I, is like, I got bored last Thursday night, and instead of watching an agonizing UCF loss, I went back and watched the Tennessee-Alabama game from last year, because I was like, I just want college football on my TV.
That's because Bailey's an SEC homer at heart.
That's not true.
I'm just messing around.
But yeah, no, it was.
Let me for the listeners to be clear.
Night,
that's a joke. Bailey's not an SEC homer.
I think they knew that.
Okay.
The next night, you go back and watch UCF Louisville. So what are you gonna watch this Friday? It's gonna be UCF Louisville from 2021.
So I was considering rewatching the conference championship game because I have it taped. I was thinking of, which I don't even know what would be the point, because it's like, it's mostly Tommy who's not even here anymore. But I don't know. I like rewatching losses. Like I that sounds like crazy, but I don't enjoy it. That's probably
Didn't you rewatch the Navy game a couple weeks ago?
That was like 2 months ago, but I didn't only rewatch the Navy game. I logged what went wrong on every single play that didn't work. And then I think I like sent it to you as like a giant note of like, okay, here's I broke down what went wrong. Because I was just trying to understand. Like, I didn't get it.
Was it that game where you sent me a video where you looked like crazed and you were like on like the TV, like it was like a telestrator, and you're like, no, look at this. And I think, was that game?
No, that was the East Carolina game. I forgot. There's a video.
Have you rewatched every UCF loss from last year except for the conference championship game?
Yes. Can I play? All right, I might just play the audio of the video.
Do you know what it says? Because I don't remember. Are we taking a risk here?
We'll take a risk. I don't think I say anything bad.
I don't think so.
I just sound crazed, so it's funny.
Is this also? I feel like this is also. Had you grown out your beard a little bit longer? So
it's the longest my beard has ever been. All right, I'll just play it. We'll see how it sounds.
I can't hear anything.
You can't hear it? All right, that's probably for the best. I like have my little clicker remote for the TV so I can like reverse and back up, and I'm just watching JRP throw a pick, and I'm so angry about it and explaining why you did it. And I look crazed. I have the beard.
This was in June. Like, this was in the middle of June.
It was April 29th.
April 29th. That wasn't that long ago.
I don't know if I want to post that on Twitter. I look insane in that, but yeah, that was that's where I'm at. Yeah, I guess I have rewatched every loss now.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. Okay.
I don't know how we got here, but anyway.
Our quarterback talk. Number 4. Should you go or should I go? I don't remember how we've already watched.
You go. I just went.
I have offensive line.
Okay. I have not that. I have. I don't know why I was going to say like I agree. I have wide receiver / tight end.
Oh, really?
I do.
Okay. Well, then that's different. I don't know. Let's just talk about the O-line first. Where do you have the O-line?
I have the O-line at 3.
Okay. It's again. This is kind of a similar thing to the DBs, except I just have a little more confidence and we have a little bit more of a clearer picture of what this O-line is going to look like, and just all the talk of they have 8 guys that they feel like they could start, and
I think they've said 10 guys at one point that they feel like they can start.
It's the deepest O-line, and I mean, I think we assume that Drake Metcalf's going to be the center, and I feel pretty good about him. Obviously, feel good about Lukahi, Grable, Marcellus Marshall's a guy that I'm pretty high on from the transfer portal, and then there's other guys where I feel fine, like Ed Collins, Adrian Medley. I feel okay about. We've heard good things about Caden Kittler. Even like Bula Schmidt, I know it's maybe like in the background of everything right now, but he was still a starting center at Fresno State a year ago.
Yeah.
And then we've heard good things about Paul Rubelt, which would be very intriguing. And then there's Amari Kite, who I think it's a weird situation right now where it's like I just expected him, and I don't know if this is just the SEC homer in me apparently. That was just like he's going to come in and start immediately, but he got like some NIL money. He was
sought after by a lot of
Alabama
programs.
Was sad to lose.
Yep.
So it's like, why isn't he?
I don't know.
A surefire starter? It's a weird thing, but
maybe he will be by the end of the day. I mean, maybe he will, but he's not right now. It doesn't sound like.
I still feel good about this group, good enough for them, but I still have them at 4 because it's still kind of where are they going to piece things together sort of thing.
It's hard to not get excited when both Herb Hand and Gus are being pretty just openly excited about how deep it is, and it's one of the best O-line groups they've ever had. And like you said, it's just they have the pieces, and I think this will come together faster. It's almost like because there's less to tinker with than with the DBs. It's like you're not setting up two different positions. It's just like, it's like they'll find an O-line they like and it'll be fine, and they'll probably get there soon. I mean, I just feel like even through camp they'll probably figure that out. But I mean, Marcellus Marshall was a huge pickup. We know that. Tylen Grable was very good last year. I know that they won't say who the starting center is, and they say they like all three guys. I refuse to acknowledge it won't be Drake Metcalf. It's going to be. So we'll just say Drake Metcalf for that. And they've got Paul Rubel. They've got Ed Collins. And like you said, they have back. I think what I like so much about this group is even injuries happen. They happen on the lines. And even if they do suffer an injury, they should be fine pretty much wherever it happens too. So that feels like it
won't be a monumental drop off to any of the next guys.
Maybe not a drop off at all. If
knock on wood, I don't know for sure, but
yeah, but you have to this is injuries happen. I mean they do, and it's just that's why depth is so important. That's kind of what UCF it felt like they were missing the last couple of years was they were always losing one or two guys away from season screwed, and they still are that at some positions that we've talked about. But O-line's not one of those positions, I don't think.
So wide receiver, tight end, you had at 4. I'm a bit surprised, I guess. Okay, I have them at 2.
Interesting. Okay. I had them at 4 because I'm trying to reel myself back in a little bit on them because I feel like we've gotten a little too out there excited because I'm realizing that the only one of them that I'm check mark sold on this guy, love it, is Javon Baker. Everyone else is still somewhat of an unknown commodity. Even because Kobe Hudson, we talk about Kobe Hudson was pretty inconsistent last year. He was good at times, and he's definitely probably their second best wide receiver off what we know now, but he had a lot of not good drops throughout the year. And so I'm not I feel like we've almost I think what I'm trying to square with wide receivers specifically is they definitely have depth for the first time in a few years, but I don't know if they have a bunch of stars. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I don't know. I don't know if they have stars. I think Javon's a star, like you said.
Sure. Yeah.
I feel good about Kobe as a 2 or 3. I feel good about Townsend as a 2 or 3, especially with what we've heard lately about him. And then the transfers they brought in, I don't know that all of them are going to be hits, but I think we have a good shot at 1 or 2 of them being hits.
Yep.
And then this we grouped in wide receivers and tight ends, and this might be one of the reasons I bumped them to 2 instead of 3. Is just when you look at the tight ends, they have Alec Holler and Randy Pittman. I'm all right, that's a good group of pass catching, in terms of pass catching, in terms of all that. I'm that's a solid group.
Yeah, tight end, I have no qualms. I think Alec Holler and Randy Pittman, you're set. You're absolutely set there. It's just right. We feel really good about the wide receivers off of what we heard. I'm kind of in the wait and see mode a little bit of all right, go out there and prove it. Go show that, Kobe's not dropping balls anymore. Go show that Xavier's taking the leap. Go show that at least a couple of these transfers are going to hit. Because truth be told, it's the group of Chauncey Magwood and Corey Gamage and Trent Whitmore, that's all still speculative. We have to see.
Yeah.
And we've heard conflicting things throughout spring and fall with them. So, and Corey Gamage, I guess I'm also just a little disheartened because I thought he was going to come in and be awesome. And they're just he's not in shape. So that's been annoying too.
I'm trying to and I don't know if I'm just being too optimistic, but I'm looking at that and being okay, that doesn't really matter. He will be in shape by the time
I think it does matter though.
I think he'll be I don't know, and I haven't seen him, so I wouldn't know. But when I say he's not in shape, I'm not picturing him coming into camp 15 pounds heavier than he was.
See, I am because it's not like it was a throwaway comment. It was anyone you ask about him. And it was even brought up on their own. JRP just went out of his way to be by the way, dude's out of shape. And Gus talks about he's out of shape. Hinshaw talks about he's out of shape. So I think he showed up and they were disappointed. I think is how you
I don't know. I've read it more as he's not in football shape, but a few weeks of camp and he will be. Or by the 3rd or 4th game, he'll be fine. I don't know.
Nope. I hope you're right. And I'm sure we'll see him this year. He was
right.
great at Marshall and he's huge.
Yeah.
So hopefully he'll get there. And like you said, it might just be someone that starts making more of an impact in week 3 and week 4 versus, he's starting against Kent State, but we will see.
Yeah. And we haven't heard anything about Whitmore, I don't think, which I don't know.
Heard, not quote wise, but there's been apparently he's fine. I think I can say that. He's fine. Right. It's not I don't think he's in it to start or anything, but he's not bad.
Man, I not overestimate. I don't know what the word is. I read way too much into the smallest sample size possible because when you look at his profile from last year, I think he had I don't know, it was single digit catches, but he averaged 21 yards a catch. So it's he's a big play machine.
What are you?
He's a guy that's gonna make some big plays. That's my dumb brain that is going.
You guys heard it here first. Trent Whitmore is a big play machine. He is going to come out there. We're talking 30+ yard catches.
I just saw
He's their big
averaged
threat.
21 point something yards per catch, and I was like, he's Trey Nixon. I was like,
what is wrong with you?
A lot is wrong with me. We already been over this,
Man.
including 2 of my hats being off the wall. All right, now we're on to. So wait, you had wide receiver at 3, right?
4.
No, 4.
I had O-line.
Have you done your O-line at 3?
I've given everything except 1 and 2.
Okay, I have my 3. So we'll go to my 3 then.
Okay.
I have them. We went back on the thing we said we were going to start doing with these lists and just go position by position instead.
Yeah, I don't know why it would have
numbers
been the other way. Whatever.
But I have defensive line at 3.
I have them at 2.
Okay, and so we have the same number 1.
Shocking.
But with defensive line, I think this is the reason why I differentiated and put wide receivers and tight ends at number 2 was the tight ends being. I'm so confident about them. I feel really, really good about the defensive line in terms of like the starters. I'm really happy with that. I still think the depth is, I don't want to say a concern, but just an unknown.
I'm in the exact same boat as you. 100%.
Looking at the number 3 defensive tackle is John Walker, who is a true freshman. I think
so.
I mean, there might be a different one that we don't really know about yet, but that's just kind of who I've looked at. And then outside, I know Sean Peterson maybe is the 3rd outside line, or I don't know, outside linebacker.
I think he certainly is, yeah.
And then maybe Caven Call's a freshman, I said a freshman. Isaiah Nixon's a freshman. Katie McDaniel's another one who I think
I don't think we're going to be seeing Isaiah Nixon.
Yeah, and I think Katie McDaniel's like a guy who we kind of just know what he is. Like, I don't think he's a bad player at all. I just think he has a ceiling, and
yeah,
I think he's fine. But I don't know. I think it's more so the lack of sure things as far as depth at defensive tackle, because they have Ricky Barber and Lee Hunter, who I think are maybe one of the better duos that is going to be out there in the Big 12, maybe. But I don't know what's behind them.
That's exactly where I'm at. Because in my mind, you take Ricky Barber and Lee Hunter and Tremont Morris-Brash and Josh Sheliscar, and you can basically start those guys at like almost any Power 5 school, except like the Blue Bloods. Like that unit is strong. Yeah. It's just what's behind them. And that's another group where it's like, man, if someone gets hurt, like if Sheliscar gets hurt or if Ricky goes down, it's like that can be a problem really quick. And getting Sean Peterson out of FIU was huge.
I'm intrigued by him a lot.
I think we're going to look back on that at the end of the season and be like, that was probably one of their top 2 or 3 most, and maybe number 1 most important transfers of just taking some of the heat off of Tremont Morris-Brash and Sheliscar. But I don't know, that there's just not a lot of depth there, and you do worry about injuries, but the top is just like almost elite, honestly. And it's just, it's, it's hard to decide which way to lean on that.
It's like having Peterson, having Katie as like your number 4 instead of your number 3. It's like you have what you didn't have last year. And it's like last year we saw times where it was like Sheliscar and Morris-Brash weren't coming off the field. It was like they were just out there.
Especially towards the end of the season. It was just like, just literally constantly.
Yeah. So having some guys that you can maybe rotate a little bit more, but still having those 2 as your high-end guys. Like there was, I don't know if it was a question, but like which one of them, maybe both of them, decided they were coming back, it was like, oh, that's like, I wasn't really expecting that. It was kind of huge.
Yeah.
So to have those 2 as your starters, I feel really, really good about them.
Yeah. And it's like, it's even little things. Like Sean Peterson basically had the choice of, I can stay at FIU and start here and play all the time, or I can move up and be essentially a backup, but still play a lot, but I'm going to be at the Power 5 level. And like landing guys like that is big, because that is there's a difference between depth and quality depth. That is quality freaking depth. And that if he wasn't here, I have D-line a lot lower, to be honest, because it's even just that, like, think of all the reps he's going to take away from Sheliscar and Tremont Morris-Brash to just give him a breather, like, and how much that's going to pay off when you extrapolate that out over a season, So I feel good about that group. I just, they need to stay healthy, because I do worry what happens when one of those guys goes down. Like, what happens if Lee Hunter gets hurt in the second game of the season? He's going to miss 5 weeks. Like, what do you do,
John Walker, trial by fire.
That's a huge, I mean, listen, like John Walker is going to be great down the line, but man, that is not someone you want to be asking, to be out there basically every down.
The good thing when you look at our number 1s, which is running backs, is you hope that none of them go down, but there's so much depth here.
Doesn't matter. Like, that's like the only injury proof position group, because they will like 3 guys can get hurt and they can still put a starting lower running back out there. It feels like UCF always has a deep running back room too. Like that's just been a constant. I don't know if that's a product of just Florida recruiting and how plentiful skill guys are here or what, but RJ Harvey and DeMarcus Bowman are bona fide stars. Well, okay, let me wait and see DeMarcus Bowman on the field first, but like RJ Harvey and DeMarcus Bowman should be bona fide stars.
Yeah.
Johnny Richardson's a big play threat, although Hinshaw made clear that he's never someone they would put out there on a 3rd and 3, which I found funny. Mark Anthony Richards, which the the mystical the mythical story of Mark Anthony Richards, where every time he was on the field in 2021, he was awesome, disappeared entirely in 2022, and now apparently is back in the mix, is exciting.
Yeah.
Jordan McDonald's young, but he's someone who, they still like a lot, and is someone that you hope long term can pop off. It's just that's the deepest room on the team, man. I like that. That room is set. It's beyond set.
We're 10 days from kickoff, 9 maybe as you're listening to this, and now I'm having visions in my head.
What's your vision? Go ahead.
No, it's just like the picture of like RJ or Bowman in 9 days time, just running away from the Kent State defense. And just like, oh, we're gonna be so back.
I can't wait. It's taking too long. This is ridiculous. Like, it should not still be next week.
Right, but at the same time, like when we do another podcast, we will be previewing a game. So
I think what happened to my mind is that like I kind of like tied together week 0 and UCF a little bit. So it's like week 0 is almost here, but I'm like, but when I'm watching week 0, the UCF game's still almost a week away. Like and that's like messing with me.
It's not going to be a full week away. It's going to be 5 days away, right? 5.
Yeah, 5 days away. Still though, I just need it now. I also like we've talked a lot about a lot of things the last few weeks. I feel like we need to just take another moment to just acknowledge that UCF, the University of Central Florida Knights, are going to be playing Kent State, who is a MAC team, and that game is going to be on FS1. Seriously, like what? I love being Power 5. This is awesome. It's like even our dumb games are on TV. This is crazy.
Our dumb games against teams from dumb little towns.
I have just willed Kent State. Is that bulletin board material that I just called them our dumb game? I mean, we're going to talk about this more. We're going to talk about this more next week. Yeah, Kent State's going to come from their dumb little town.
Their dumb little town for their dumb game.
Where is Kent State? I think Kent.
Kent where?
Kent's a city, isn't it?
Looking this up
in Ohio.
Huh?
Is Kent not a city in Ohio?
Is it? I think.
Yes,
maybe.
Kent, Ohio.
Okay. I don't know about Ohio.
Okay.
Try me.
Kent State, who, I believe has the series lead on UCF. No, they're tied right now, and UCF can take the series lead.
2-game winning streak.
We'll talk about this more next week, but I just want to remind fans, and I'll say a lot more on this next week, but like this is your regular reminder that Kent State is not an FCS team. They are a MAC team, and that's when schools even such as Georgia or Oklahoma play MAC teams instead of FCS teams, they don't win 65-0. It's more like 35-10 or 42-24 or something like that. So for UCF fans who are confused and think this is another SC State, it is not. And I would prefer if 2 weeks from right now, you're not having a panic attack because UCF won by like 17. So let's just not do that because it's not an FCS team. So chill. Okay.
You could press a button right now that says they win by 17 points. Would you do it?
Me? No.
Yeah. No, me neither.
They might. I wouldn't care if they did, but like, no, I think they can probably win by more, but they're not going to win 56-0. It's like, people don't understand the difference between
that's bulletin board material for UCF now.
I'm giving everyone bulletin board material. Every Big 12 team, Kent State, UCF, they're all getting it from me. Bailey's hats. It's just like it's everywhere. But seriously, like people need to understand, it's like MAC schools are made up of a bunch of 3 stars and some 2 stars. FCS schools are made up of guys who don't even have profiles in 247. Like there's no comparison between those two. So don't get them confused in your head. But anyway, all right, we're done.
Yeah, we're done. See you next week. We'll do the football news. There's not actually a lot of it this week. John Rice Plumlee was named to the Manning Award watch list. The watch lists are still trickling out. Lokahi Paule.
I'm watch listed out, man. There's too many.
Was named to the Polynesian College Football Player of the Year award watch list. And then the final thing, Braden Marshall was given some love by 247. He was listed in 247's preseason true freshman All-American team. So
cool.
There's buzz around him, which is cool.
Yeah.
It's a good thing. I always like seeing freshmen, like even just little glimpses of freshmen. Like last year with like Townsend a little bit with Nakai. Like it's just fun to see.
Braden Marshall being named but not John Walker's dumb, right? Am I wrong?
I don't know. That made me think that they are hearing stuff like they're hearing stuff. Because why would they not list if they're listing him? Why was it just that they didn't have enough? They had enough defensive tackles, but not enough DBs. Maybe I don't know.
I don't know how that. I don't know how that process works. I mean, I think they're both supposed to play, and maybe Braden will. I mean, honestly, I'll shut up because if Braden plays a lot, maybe he will. So whatever. Who knows?
Guess what's back?
Who knows? Game of the week.
Back. Game of the week is back. So UCF women's soccer started last week with a big 1-0 win over, or 1-0 win over the Space Frauds, Purdue. How many things and entities can we trash on this podcast?
But the other ones
their space, like they have legitimate ties to space.
No, but the other ones were jokes. Purdue is legitimately a terrible university. So
Space Frauds. So UCF women's soccer won last week. They have another big game this week at Georgia, but they are not game of the week. It's UCF men's soccer. Their first regular season game is at number 9 Clemson, Thursday at 7 p.m. I'm this is gonna sound dumb. I'm worried about UCF men's soccer.
Me too.
Did you see? I mean, that's just scrimmages and exhibitions, but their exhibitions did not go so well.
I don't know. We talked about this on a past podcast this summer when we were ranking head coaches and programs and all that. But like, we'll see. Well, I'm a little worried. I'm a little worried about the trajectory of men's soccer.
It's also just like in an unfair position where it's like they're gonna probably feel a little bit like forgotten about because they're not in the Big 12 because there's no Big 12 men's soccer.
I'm curious how that's.
And they're in a good conference. Like it's a good conference, but
the best conference they can be in. The Sun Belt's no joke in men's soccer. And like I said, that's where all the P5 Southern soccer teams are. It's where South Carolina and Kentucky and West Virginia. Like that's a legit league.
But I said I was worried about them. But if they go out and beat number 9 Clemson on the road, maybe I'll be a little less worried.
I would be significantly less worried if they beat a top 10 team. I would probably be just fine. Yeah. But yeah.
All right, we're going to tweet of the week.
Tweet of the week. We don't have tweet of the week this week. We have a new segment, a one-off segment called Streaming Service of the Week. And Streaming Service of the Week goes to Big Ten Plus. And if you haven't heard of Big Ten Plus, neither I until last Thursday, when I very excitedly, after talking with Bailey about it for days, was going to watch the women's soccer game against Purdue, also known as the Space Frauds. I was very excited. I just assumed I'd be able to watch it since I could watch all UCF sporting events. Well, guess what? Since it was at Purdue, it was under the Big Ten television deal, and the Big Ten put this game on Big Ten Plus. Big Ten Plus. I thought that might just be like part of ESPN Plus. Not only is it its own thing, it also is because I'm a freaking psychopath. I was like, how do I buy Big Ten Plus? After I saw this was the case, and I was trying to figure it out. You have to buy by team. It's not like ESPN Plus where you sign up. It's like, do you want the Purdue pass or the Illinois pass or the Northwestern pass? All these things cost. You can also buy specific team passes. Sorry, you have to pay to just watch softball. Or dumbest service in the world. And I did not get to watch the women's soccer game, and I'm deeply upset about that. And frankly, I believe that it's 2023, and there's no reality where I should still have to be buying streaming services to watch teams. We don't need more of these. And honestly, shame on the Big Ten for being so greedy that not only do they have a Big Ten Plus, but it's not even like you can just buy Big Ten Plus. They're like, oh yeah, well, who are you a fan of? Oh yeah, well, what teams of that school are you a fan of? And we're going to sell you those specifically and nothing else because we're freaking like cheapskates. This is ridiculous. I think I hate the Big Ten now, and I might not watch any Big Ten games this year. Shame on them. I mean, honestly, the whole team pass thing is ridiculous. Can you imagine if you signed up for ESPN Plus and they were like, we will give you just UCF baseball and nothing else. Sorry, you have to pay more for every other thing. And come on. I'm really anti-Big Ten now.
Big Ten Plus is why I went and watched the Tennessee-Alabama game last Thursday night.
Yeah.
Instead of watching UCF women's soccer, I was like, well, now I have nothing to watch. And so,
can we watch the Clemson game with men's soccer? Is that going to be on a real service?
If you trash the Big Ten a little bit more, I can look it up.
So here's my other problem with the Big Ten is that they're ruining college football. And here, you look it up really quickly and I'll go on a little mini rant. Everyone talks about realignment and, realignment's ruining the sport. And you're correct. It is because consolidation is happening. But the Big Ten is way worse than the SEC because the SEC took Texas and Oklahoma, which was totally reasonable. Their cultural fits, geographical fits. It made sense to do that. It made sense. Big Ten grabbing a bunch of West Coast teams for more money is stupid, and that's what's ruining college football. The Big Ten is responsible for the death of the sport. Did I go enough?
Yes, I have an answer, and it scared me at first because when you go to UCF's schedule, it says watch on ACC NX, and I was like, "What is this?
What is ACC NX?"
It took me to ESPN, so it seems like we can watch that game.
Yes,
because
very excited.
I was thinking, wait, does ACC have their own network, their own plus?
Well, the ACC's the ACC's TV deal is owned by ESPN, so I assume that would be Plus or something like it. But
I don't know what and a network. I don't know
networks.
Weird,
I don't know
networks. ACC
Maybe.
Networks.
Maybe.
But you can. I think you can also watch You should be able to watch the UCF women's soccer game as well. That's on Thursday at 6 o'clock.
Wait, are they both at the same time?
One of them's at 7. The men's is at 7. Women's is at 6. So.
I'm going to be having a lovely Thursday night. That's going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
1 week before UCF football.
As we're watching that game, or those games, we'll have 1 week until kickoff. 7 o'clock, I think it is. 7 o'clock against Kent State.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, and then last week, my ticket showed up in my account, and that's nice.
UCF actually opened the credential portal. So
did they?
Okay.
Yes. Can I ask you about that? But yeah, it'll be a good time. We'll have our preview podcast next week, previewing the game, preview UCF.
For those of you who were with us the last couple of years, we're not doing predictions anymore. So if you liked those, sorry, we're done, because we hated doing it every second of doing it, and we're done. So we'll have a new preview format, which we think will be fun.
How will Brandon Adams catch his first interception? Will it be one-handed? Will it be near the sideline?
He's going to now. He's going to now in this game, since we finally killed predictions.
I'm excited for it. But thank you guys for listening. We'll be back next week with our UCF Kent State preview and a post-game pod.
That's right.
But keep leaving us those 5-star review questions. We will keep kicking off the podcast with those. But until episode 155, you can find us on Twitter at BaileyJAdams22, at by CA Simmons, and at Night Sports Now. Thank you guys so much for being with us. We will talk to you next week.
Bye, everybody.